Every paw has a story, some filled with love, some with pain, but all of them deserve hope. Welcome to Tales of Hope, voices for the voiceless, hope for every paw. Here, we speak for those who can't, and together, we create hope, one paw at a time.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our guest for today, Roxanne Davur, who's a master trainer for animal welfare, and she is the owner of Probably Paradise Shelter in Karjat. Roxanne, it's good to have you on the podcast, and I would highly appreciate if you can, let us, our audience, know about your journey into the animal rescue and welfare.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me on, Anil. So, as he said, my name is Roxanne Davur. I run a shelter in Karjat, which is halfway between Bombay and Pune. How did I don't know. It's just a way of life. It's not my passion or whatever. It's a way of life. I don't even consider myself an animal lover. I just enjoy their company. No politics. They say what they think. My parents lived like this. My father never bought or sold an animal. It was always part and parcel of the way of life. Except that I was not allowed to bring animals home. Only my father was. But my mom and I had to look after them.
I think that's the story with most of us. I mean, today, even we have, me and my wife, we have 3 furries, and we take turns. The day she needs to go to the office, I do the babysitting. And when I have to be at work, it's my wife taking care of them. But for us, we both have just enjoyed what we have,
Isn't it right? This is the whole thing. It's nothing to do with animal loving. It's just a question, you enjoy their company.
To be honest, if I would be brutally honest about it, we enjoy their company more than being with humans, to be honest.
Yeah, but everybody's like that, Siri. Everybody's like that.
Can I ask you another thing, Roxanne? How did this NGO or the organization that you are, how did it come into being?
Okay, now a lot of people are forming NGOs, which is not quite the right thing to do, because they feel that if they are an NGO, they can get the funds easier. We have good and bad NGOs. We have crooks as well as honest people. I always say, before you start your own NGO, join up with an existing one. Because the death of an NGO is either the death of a founder or the dearth of funds. Once the moving personality dies, then everything collapses. That's not the point of forming an NGO. And especially when you're working with animals. It's different if you were working with art or books or, but if you're working with animals, you have to make sure that your inheritance is secure, one way or the other.
That's such an important
Join
point.
up with another one. Unfortunately, at present, it is very, very difficult to maintain an NGO. The amount of paperwork we have to do. And if somebody starts up an animal rescue, they're expected to do everything, Anil. They're expected to do the fundraising, the finances, looking after the animals, the medicals, taking them to vets, bringing up the money to pay the vets, pay for operations, do the rehab. And then on top of it, the paperwork for an NGO, which is a full-time job, by the way. It is not something you can do quickly in the evening. It's a full-time job. And justifying your expenses to the taxman also drives everybody crazy. And then you can't do this and you can't do that. Like, for instance, we're not allowed to, as an NGO, pay bills of more than 2,000 rupees in cash. Everything after 2,000 rupees has to be paid by check or a bank transfer. I live in the village. I'm happy to get a bill. Normally, it's a bit of chitty from an envelope or from a newspaper or a GST number. Kya bola GST number? You know, it's almost impossible. I can't educate the whole village and say you have to get a GST. I can't buy from only because nobody's got them. I'm happy if I get a bill of some sort. So all these things have to be no, check nahi mangta, you know. There are all sorts of inhibitions put on by the government. And you have to justify that you're not converting the masses, you know, to a new religion. So if you ever want to volunteer, it's things like this that help. Accountants, fundraisers, paper stallions, as I said, you know, feeders.
Very true. I mean, just to add up to your point, you know, I always believe it's if we can all, you know, like the small ships come together and make a bigger ship.
Exactly.
It's
make a navy.
Exactly. I mean, that is what I have always been with the principle right from way back in 90s. But, you know, to be honest, what you have brought out the point, it's such enlightening because for me, I am still learning about everything, you know, in terms of in this field sort of thing. Roxanne, can I ask you another thing? Because I understand you deal with both the small animals as well as the large animals. How do
animal is animal.
Yeah, but you know, in terms, a lot of people have this way of labeling. This is a small animal like a cat and a dog, and then we have the big animals like the cows, buffaloes,
yeah, but
horses.
They don't deal with rats, guinea pigs, hamsters, rabbits, other small animals. They just limit themselves to cats and dogs. This was an argument I had with somebody setting up a hospital. Oh, we're only going to deal with pets. And I said, what would you consider a pet in Bombay? Oh, a cat and a dog. I said, the wallabies, the snakes, the birds, the hamsters, the terrapins. What about them? So where do you limit it? I won't take wildlife. And personally, I will never take a zebra. But thank God they're not indigenous in India.
Okay.
I'm terrified of zebras. They are not a pony in pajamas, believe me. Zebras are totally unpredictable. They're like the Malinois of the horse world.
Okay. You know, I'm telling you, you know, I'm going to learn so much from this conversation that we're going to have. Coming back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Coming back to large animals, I have always had a soft spot for horses. I have worked with horses almost all my life. I was the first woman at the Turf Club in Bombay in the 70s working there. It is... So I will never say no to a horse, a pony, or a donkey. Okay. Never. They have priority for me. Whatever the stop story, we've heard all of them. Cats, yes, because they're also very neglected. Yeah, okay. Now, because dogs are dogs, you know, you've got the majority. Now we've started with cattle. I always avoided cattle. I find there are enough gaushalas, but the trouble is most of the gaushalas are dairies. They are not gaushalas, they're dairy farms. So I just started keeping them here, you know. You wanted to know about the name, probably Paradise?
Yeah, you already gave us the name for that shelter that you run, the Probably Paradise shelter in Karjat. I am so glad to hear and understand so much about your journey. Coming back to my next question, what are the most common rescue cases you handle for both street animals and large farm animals?
Well, here mainly dogs.
Okay.
And of course, being quite close to Matarang, a lot of abandoned ponies, because financially it's better to leave the pony on the road, let it get hit by a bus or truck at night, and then stand there and cry in front of the truck, oh, that was my mother-in-law in another form. And yeah, I'll be quiet with 20,000 rupees. So we tend to go in and pick them up as fast as possible before they get, but mostly one or the other is injured. And the problem is we always have to pick up the injured animal plus the friends. There is no point leaving the friend behind. It hinders recovery because
With the
horses are
anxiety.
herd animals.
Right.
They need the friend.
But isn't that the same with even dogs, that they need friends or they need their siblings around?
No, not really, because basically once the siblings are grown up, they go their separate ways. That's why we have the term, when a lot of people pick up siblings as two dogs in a household, and they say, oh, they're fighting with each other. But siblings fight, even in the human world.
That's so true.
You know, siblings fight. And then there are the people who will say, oh, I want a puppy, my baby is small, I want a puppy. I'm going, the problem is that dog will look as your child as a sibling.
That's so true.
And that's where your fights come in. Who is boss of the territory? And the snapping and the biting will happen. He will do the same to his siblings. Then you can't say, oh no, he's biting my child.
I think with this thing that you've said, because we are learning that ourselves, because just about, I think on the Christmas Eve, we adopted one of the indies that I used to take care of in my mother's compound, because she was run over by a car. And since we have two of our own previous to that, this little one, when you talk about biting, she has been, I would say she's been very playful, but yes, she's been biting. And with my the other kid that we have, and they have been having their own sort of, the fights or whatever. But at the same time, you will see them sleeping together. They would be so closey. So we
The
asked.
main thing is don't interfere.
Yes.
Don't interfere.
This is
if you've got male dogs, males, whether two-legged or four-legged, tend to fight in public.
Okay.
That's why with humans, we sell tickets and we call it boxing and wrestling matches, cricket, whatever. Whatever the battle is called, it's still a battle. They tend to do it in public, whereas females tend to fight very quietly and very deadly among themselves. And there's no point in interfering. You pull one away, the other will come. You take the other away, that will come. Just walk away.
Exactly. That's what me and my wife, we do. We just let them do, whatever they want to do. Because we have seen the very next moment, they would be playing with the toys, they would be doing things together. So we realize, let them be on their own and, let them take their own spaces, whatever they need to do. Coming back to my next question, Roxanne, can you share a challenging rescue story that deeply impacted you?
Well, my most challenging rescue stories have been humans. Animals are not that challenging. Digging them out of holes, pulling them out of pits. That's all normal work for us.
I know. My question, let me rephrase it. The question would be not the challenge that you face with rescuing, but as you rightly said, the challenges that we face from the humans when we are trying to do something good.
No, the trick is, if you are in the middle of a rescue and you have all the couch critics around you, I remember trying to rescue a Malabar squirrel that was obviously diseased in Ooty in the middle of the town. Everybody else worked fine with it. The police stopped the traffic, the wildlife staff came, but we still had our, what I call Salman Khans. Nay, we will rescue, we are heroes, we are Superman. And I'm saying, get away, because, to have an animal like that in the middle of town, the first thing that comes to your mind is rabies. Because it's not normal for a Malabar squirrel to sit in the middle of town traffic, And, with all these guys fluffing around, and especially with leopards rescues, there are so many people who know better. The best thing is to catch them by the neck and say, go rescue. But it's always a mass, and then there's more trouble than it's worth. If they just walked away, the animal we could work and get it done with, And when I say to the wildlife department, fine them for interfering. Oh, madam, you know what headaches we will have afterwards. The MLA will ring and everybody. And I love this word when it comes to animal cases and rescues. You will always get somebody saying, last chance, madam, give him a last chance. I said, if he ran over a kid, would you give him a last chance? No. So why do the animals have to keep giving humans last chances?
I think on this, I don't know whether it would be politically correct or not. But not recently, just 2 days back, I read somewhere, it's been there all over the media, that a judge in Allahabad court passed an order which is absolutely like a crazy order. In terms of when a woman was molested and all, there was so much of things that were done, and he just passed the order that let the culprits go. So I mean, when you look at things like that, you start wondering, where is the legal or the judiciary going? Even recently, we had a case in Pune where a rich kid drove car over two kids, and the judge asked him just to write 300-word essay, and he was let off the hook. So, I mean, when human life is not valued, how do we expect animal life to be valued?
No. I'll tell you something. I have been in court, and it was a long, drawn-out case, almost 10 years. It was an environmental case. And we had then were asked to join up so that mistreated ponies and horses were not on this technically environmental protected land. And the judge in open court says, okay, I'm coming to your town at the weekend for a holiday. Who's going to take me out to lunch? And when a very sexually descriptive word passed my lips in court, and I have such a gentle, dulcet voice, as you can imagine, the lawyer whipped around and said, you're not supposed to say fuck it, in court. I said, why? Is there a law against saying these words? And then he says, no, we'll go to my chambers. I said, you're seriously asking in open court who's taking you for lunch? Are you out of your cotton-picking mind? And then there was a whole bunch of lawyers. One lawyer says, I'm for the Mandaris. So I'm looking at the judge and I said, why are you accepting his case? No, the Mandaris need representation. I said, the Mandaris are illegal. You cannot be on this property with illegal wildlife kept animals. But then some judges don't keep up to date. Some judges think that they are God and can, they are not accountable. I've had a judge ask me if I could get jobs for the perpetrators.
Wow.
And I went, do you want me to answer honestly, and because I'm not under oath, honestly or politely? So the judge went, no, honestly, madam, honestly. So I said, are you a fuckworth idiot? These guys are perpetrators. They perpetrate cruelty. And you want me to get jobs under my name as horsemen? I would lock them up. I would starve them to death. I'd feed them to the vultures. And you're asking me to get them jobs for doing their cruelty? What do you do with judges like this? And you privately say, may the God bless, may the bluebird of happiness shit upon you. But I will see that you get your karma. And these judges do get their karma.
But I think when it comes to karma, eventually, no matter what, karma has its own way of coming back to you. no
Oh,
matter
yeah.
what.
And if you're a good person, God will let you watch.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will 100% go with you because I believe a lot in spirituality, and this is what I do
It
for
has
my
nothing to do with it's physics. What goes
Exactly.
around comes around. It has nothing to do with spiritual. You call it karma, you can call it kismet, you can call it physics.
It's just a different name, but the path is the same, and it will churn today or tomorrow. The wheel will turn.
What goes around comes around.
Absolutely. Coming back to my next question, how do you handle rescues involving injured or abandoned animals? Like I remember you just mentioned about the ponies that you get from Mathiran. So can we get to know more about how do you handle them?
Well, I train up the staff.
Okay.
We started off about 4 or 5 years ago teaching like horse handling because we noticed a lot of animals were dying because of wrong catching processes. A rope is put around their neck. You should never do that with a horse or a pony or a donkey. Is put a rope because their trachea and ossifix is just here, and that's the first thing. You yank it and you yank it and you pull it. I don't know why men think that if you yank and pull it's successful. They drop dead. So they are easily stressed. So you have to train them. So I did a couple of courses here. I did about 60 vets in horse handling, basic horse, how to pick up feet, how to. You see, the vets that we know who handle horses have no idea how to handle a horse. It's normally a stud horse. The owner is there, 25 relations are there. They've never caught a horse that is loose in the wild, treated it, because they don't know how to. And they don't want to work alone. They always want 50 assistants. So after I then stopped doing it for about 3 years because I had to build. So whatever money I had on the side went towards building rather than the courses. And Rohan More from Japaloop has taken it up. So he does these horse handling courses. And now to extend it, he does a 5-day basic clinic for horses because our vets get roughly about 45 minutes to 1.5 hours of horse training in their entire veterinary studies, 5-year career. And the professors also know nothing.
Okay.
So it's nothing teaching nothing. And they come out knowing nothing. And since we know that the veterinary course needs a severe overhaul in India, they are teaching laws that are long. Okay, now most of the Loki, enough. Most of the cruelty has stopped. This is Loki, by the way.
Oh, hello. That's cute.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's nice.
Yeah. Very effective guard dog. He lies down and barks into the distance. No? And he's, yeah, so that's Loki. He was also a rescue. And, but as I said, Rohan More has started the course, 5 days. He's mostly had third-year students. And it gives them the possibility to go on and learn to be a vet. But as I said, I'm very keen on training staff. Although I've been fired by Cyrus Poonawalla, who says, are you crazy? You train up the staff, they'll go and work for somebody else who gives them 100 rupees more. I said, fair enough. But let all the staff be trained.
That's so true. Yes, absolutely.
And I wanted to start up something similar to a college. If any of your readers are interested, I'd approach Ratan Tata. We were in the process of buying 100 acres next door. He died. So the project died with him. Now I've approached another party who's interested in the education because they need to feed their vet clinics with properly trained staff. We still have the swab and sweep battalion. the Jaru Chindi battalion. The old lady with her Marathi sari and her metal bucket will technically make your clinic hygiene. No, she can't. Hygiene is not sweep and swab. Handling animals, giving a proper report to the vet. How was the stool? How was the urine? What is the temperature of the animal? None of them know how to do it. So training up staff properly, knowing how to handle them, knowing what to do in emergencies, how to deal with a colic. All these things have to be taught. So at the moment, we have running what we call an ABC course, which is animal birth control, simple as ABC. And now we train up vets, and at the moment we're training just ordinary people to assist a vet. So they learn the hygiene of the stable, of the stalls, how to shave an animal, how to check temperature, blood pressure, heartbeat, all these sort of things, and assist a vet in an operation.
Perfect. This is such an enlightening thing. I mean,
and then they get a certificate and they can go into the big wide world and they have no excuses.
Okay, coming back to my next question. How do local communities react when you rescue a large animal? Do you face resistance from them?
Well, I tend to be a bit of a bully.
Okay.
So if they want me to not do it, I say, you do it. And then, nahi, ma, tum karo. No? The most resistance I receive from local communities when they want to do something illegal and we stop them.
Okay.
In the time where bull races were illegal, I don't have to do any research. I see the trucks go past with the bulls. I call up the cops. Is there a bull race? And since they've anyway been bribed, they know where the bull race is. Then they go and they say, "Ban karo, Madam Bola." But we paid you 10,000. So they said, "But we paid you 10,000. No, Madam Bola ban karo, you know." So the outsiders went, "We'll go and we'll maro and everything." So the villagers said, yeah, go, maro. Oh, no, we're not coming. You wanted to go and maro her, you go and maro her, but we're not coming. So then I had a whole bunch of MLAs and their chamchas shouting in front of my gate, maro, and I'm looking at them and they always remind me of a bunch of yapping puppies. And I don't get into an argument with them. I said, "What do you want to do? Maro me?" "Yeah, it's padat denga." So I said, "Yeah," and then I'll drop dead. And then what happened? I become a bood. And I don't need water. And I don't need sleep. And I can sit on your shoulder for the rest of your life. And I can make your kakri into a mutter. So don't even worry about children. Your wife will get a lover. And they're like, "Maaf karo," and they mutter and they go off.
Wow, that's something of learning for me. The next time I get into an argument, I normally try and avoid getting into arguments with people because And
never explain yourself.
That's true.
Do not explain yourself. Do not explain the animal. If he comes with you aggressively, you fight the case that he's attacked you.
I mean, Roxanne, you won't believe it.
The problem is like this, Anil. Women, children, and animals, even today, are considered commodities.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
Well, in a way, yes. Up to a lot of extent, I see. Given the kind of life I have seen, or the places that I have been, women have been respected. But yes, coming back to our country, to be honest.
No. Look at America. Women are commodities. Even in America today, women do not have equal rights in America.
But that,
we did a massive thing in the 70s to try and get so many states to sign. Didn't work. Women do not have equal rights in America.
That's true.
And now they're being made negligible. If you put up an act in Parliament or the Houses of Representatives for medical treatment, and you omit the word female, woman, from the whole bill. They've omitted the word female. You're not allowed to use the word female in government papers.
Okay, that is something I was not aware of, to be honest.
America is going out of its way to, what's it called? Handmaid's Tale, no?
That is sad. That is very, very sad.
Women are dying because they say you can't have an abortion.
Yeah, that is something I'm aware of, because I think for a long time that has been, I don't know whether I should say this or not, but due to the religious purposes, they think abortion is wrong. How can that be wrong?
What purposes?
For religious purposes, I mean,
there's nothing religious about it.
Very true. I know that, but I think a lot of people.
Religion is a convenience.
That is so true.
Religion is a convenience and it is a business. There is no way anybody can deny that religion is not a business.
That I won't deny. I won't deny.
And they have to pay taxes on their income. There is no way out of it.
That is so true. Are there any major differences in rescuing street animals and farm animals?
No, not really, no. You need a proper team. You need the proper backup. You need to figure out, as I always say, evaluate, delegate, which are the same principles in business. Evaluate the situation, delegate the work, get it done. See, a lot of people rescue an animal and then say, oh, I rang up thousands of NGOs and nobody's helping me. Get the animal to a vet. There you have time to start looking at local NGOs who can help.
To be honest, I learned this from my own experience. This has been a self-learning curve for me as well. I've been, in Bombay,
If you'd come to a training course that we have held, you would have learned it at the beginning.
Very true. I mean, I remember back in Bombay, I used to take care of 17 cats when I came back from Singapore. And even in Pune, in the last 4 years, I initially never looked out. I started doing Googling because I take care of about 7 dogs in my mother's compound. Apart from what we have of our own, we have 3 now. And when the first one needed to be vaccinated or ABC, all I did was do my research, made a couple of calls to these people who would do it. And I mean, I don't know, I normally don't like talking about it, but even if I had to pay from my pockets, I paid for their ABCs and everything and getting them vaccinated. Initially, the pups, I took them even to a private vet because that's the vet take cares of our the ones babies that we have at home, and I was okay. I mean, it might have charged me like a bomb, but at the end of the day, the babies are safe. I mean, the kids are safe. They needed to be vaccinated. So I think for me, it has been more of a self-learning curve than, trying to call up all the NGOs. I never did that, to be honest.
Don't forget, most vets don't want healthy clients.
That I think
I'm the medicine world. They don't want healthy clients. Healthy clients means no money. This annual vaccination is so corrupt, it is just frightening. Nobody needs a 9-in-1 every year.
Well, that is enlightening to me, to be honest. Because
it's not enlightening. Read the small print in your vaccination box.
Okay, I haven't done that. This is something I'm doing right away now.
Everybody gets a little bit of paper in your vaccine, in your medicines. Read it. That's what it's there for.
That is really high. That's very interesting. I think most of the viewers will, as I am enlightened with this, I'm sure most of the viewers would also get enlightened with this.
Basically, 9-in-1, 10-in-1 is between 3 to 7 years. So basically, you boost them, you give their original shot, you wait your 15 days before the rabies shot, and then another 15 days for your booster shot, and you can wait 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
And then you can give it another, and then you leave it because the dog is too old. Another thing which absolutely horrifies me, and to date, I haven't had a vet in front of me say it, but if you vaccinate rabies and 9-in-1 together, that is wrong. That is criminally wrong. You have to have 15 days between the vaccines because rabies and parvo nullify each other.
Oh, okay. What are the most frequent medical issues you encounter with large animals?
Any animal, overdosing.
Yeah, absolutely.
This Section 8 drug, ivermectin, seems to be candy for most street feeders. They give Neomac and ivermectin to every animal. It's just quite disgusting. No records, no nothing. And when we get an abandoned animal or we get a recovered animal, we don't know what medicines they've been given earlier on.
So true.
And 3 doses of ivermectin or Neomac, and anyway the liver is screwed up. And large animals, well, nothing is done. No vaccinations, no deworming, nothing is done. And vets don't even anti-rabies the large animals. People don't, they seem to say, dogs. If a dog bites me, I have to take a rabies vaccine. I'm thinking, no, you don't. If a dog barks at me, I have to take an anti-rabies vaccination. In Kerala, 36 members of a family were vaccinated against rabies because the dog crossed the road in front of them.
Wow.
And that was from a medical doctor. So was he in it for the money? But they're free. People don't want to learn about what they're doing.
That is something, I think, for me, this has been a learning curve, to be honest. But I think that is what the whole thing should be. We should, that's the whole purpose of, me creating this podcast was for people to be aware, to create awareness.
Okay, my SOPs, my standard operating procedures when I pick up an animal, say it's a dog.
Right.
I have no idea of the history.
True.
First thing is you communicate with the animal. You do a course in animal communication. What is it that with humans we expect a dog to know 3 languages and we can't be bothered to learn theirs? You keep talking about voiceless animals. They're not voiceless. We just don't listen.
That's true.
A lot of human beings remind me of patriarchal fathers. My word goes. And that's what vets and a lot of people do. I will decide what's wrong with the animal. Talk to your animal. I've had vets tell me dogs are 2-3 years old. I've turned to the dog and say, how old are you? 8 or 9. Now who do I believe? The dog, not the vet.
That's so true.
Because are our vets taught diagnosis in college? No. They want this test, that test, every other test. It's like, give me the exam results before I tell you what the question is.
But I guess this is how... Sorry. You were saying something, Roxanne.
No, it's okay. This is one of the most frustrating things that we have to deal with. So my procedure is temperature, eyes, ears, and teeth, distemperinium, which is a homeopathic to help combat distemper, and deworming. And then we'll deal with the broken leg or the bust up eye or whatever. People are terrified about, there's so much blood, there's blood. Blood is good. Blood is cleaning the wound. It's not that important unless it's aerial blood, arterial blood, aerial blood, however you like to call it. But those are the first things I do. Temperature, to see what the temperature is. Am I dealing with heat stroke? Am I dealing with an infection? Ears, eyes, and teeth. If the teeth are very plaqued, then you can guarantee your kidneys are also compromised. Because your kidney stone comes from your tooth plaque. You do know that, don't you?
Yes. That's a little bit of what we have learned in the last 4 years since we've had our kids.
But it also applies to humans. You don't look after your teeth, you are screwed.
That's so true.
Teeth are imperative that you look after them.
That is true. Coming back to this, my next question would be, what are the biggest challenges, in getting medical support for whether it's a farm animal or
Lack of vet.
Okay.
Lack of vet. We have a tremendous lack of vets, I think, all over the world. And our Indian vets seem to think that going to America is going to make them, I don't know, earn more money, more marriageable, whatever. But they lack a massive amount of knowledge. And there is, in fact, an association of Indian vets in America. That many are there, that they can form an association. We have a tremendous amount of uneducated vets. Now, I know a lot of my friends will come up in arms and say, why do you always put down our profession? And I go, listen, happy people, you guys are a pitiful handful in India. Good vets are pitifully negligible. Compassionate, caring, knowledgeable.